Daniel had always lived a quiet life at the edge of the small town. His home sat near a line of tall trees where wind sounded like soft ocean waves at night. He liked peace, routine, and simple evenings where he could listen to radio music while drinking warm tea. He never expected anything unusual to find him, especially not on a cold night when he was preparing to sleep early. The night started like any other. Daniel locked the doors, turned off the lights in the living room, and walked toward his bedroom. Outside, the air was colder than usual, the sky darker, and the wind strangely calm. As he pulled his blanket back, he heard it. 3 soft knocks at the front door. Not loud, not hurried, just gentle, almost unsure. Daniel paused. He didn't usually get visitors, especially not at night. For a moment, he wondered if he imagined it. The house was old, and sometimes wood creaked in ways that sounded like footsteps or tapping. But then the knock came again, even softer than before, almost like a whisper made out of sound. He grabbed his coat and walked to the door, trying not to worry. When he opened it, the cold night air swept inside, and with it came a surprise he could never prepare for. A woman stood in front of him, thin, trembling, and looking like she could collapse at any moment. She wore clothes that didn't look like anything he recognized, made of a soft, shiny material that reflected moonlight. Her skin had a faint blue tint, not bright, just enough to look unusual. Her eyes were large and deep, filled with fear and exhaustion. She looked fragile, like someone who had been lost for a very long time. For a second, Daniel forgot how to speak. He didn't know who she was, where she came from, or why she was alone outside his home. Before he could ask anything, she looked up at him, her lips struggling to form a word. It came out in a whisper so soft he almost missed it. "I'm hungry." And before Daniel could react, her knees gave out. She fainted right at his doorstep. His heart jumped, not out of fear but out of concern. She didn't look dangerous, more like someone who desperately needed help. Without thinking twice, he bent down, lifted her carefully, and carried her inside. She was surprisingly light, as if she hadn't eaten properly for days. He placed her gently on the couch and hurried to bring a blanket. The room was warm, but she was cold, her fingers icy to the touch. Daniel didn't know what to do, but he knew he couldn't leave her outside. He boiled water, made simple soup, and kept checking if she was breathing normally. After a few minutes, her eyes fluttered open slowly. She looked around the room, confused and frightened, like she wasn't sure she was safe. Daniel stepped back a little so he wouldn't scare her. "You're okay," he said softly. "You fainted at my door. You're inside now." She blinked, trying to understand his words. Her eyes moved around the room again, as if studying everything carefully. When Daniel offered her the bowl of soup, she stared at it like she wasn't sure what it was. Then, slowly, she reached for it with shaking hands. The moment she tasted it, her expression changed. Relief spread across her face, and she ate with quiet desperation, like someone truly starving. Daniel didn't say anything. He just let her eat until the bowl was completely empty. When she finished, she placed the bowl down and looked at him. Her voice was soft, careful, almost musical. "Thank you." Her accent was unusual, gentle, smooth, and unlike anything Daniel had ever heard. It wasn't from any place he knew. Still, she tried hard to speak clearly. Daniel nodded. "You're welcome. Do you need more food?" She hesitated, then gave a small nod. Daniel warmed up bread and fruit and placed them beside her. She ate slower this time, as if trying not to seem too desperate. Between bites, she kept glancing at him, like she was trying to figure out whether he was friend or stranger. After eating, she leaned back into the couch. Her eyes softened, and she seemed a little more comfortable. Daniel sat in the chair across from her, trying not to overwhelm her with too many questions. She looked tired. both physically and mentally. A few silent minutes passed. Then she touched her chest lightly and said, "Ariel." Her name. Daniel repeated it softly. "Ariel, I'm Daniel." Hearing his name seemed to calm her more. She nodded slowly, practicing the sound in her head before saying, "Dan-il." Her pronunciation was careful, almost childlike, but sweet in a surprising way. Daniel didn't want to push her, but he also needed to understand what was happening. "Ariel, where are you from?" She looked down at her hands, her expression turning sad. She took a long breath before answering. When she spoke, her words came slowly, like she was searching for the right ones. "Far from here." Her tone made Daniel realize she didn't just mean another country or town. She meant something else, something distant in a way he couldn't imagine. But she didn't look dangerous or untrustworthy, just lost. Ariel touched the edge of her clothing, then pointed upward toward the sky outside the window. She didn't need to explain more. Daniel understood instantly. She wasn't from Earth. He didn't react with fear or disbelief. Instead, he felt a strange calm settle over him. The woman sitting on his couch was someone who needed help, someone who had nowhere else to go. That truth mattered more than anything about her origin. Ariel watched him closely, waiting to see whether he would push her away or accept her. When Daniel simply smiled gently, she relaxed. Her shoulders dropped, and she let out a quiet breath she had been holding inside. "You help," she said softly, placing her hand over her heart. "Safe. Here." Daniel nodded. "Yes, you're safe." Her eyes shimmered. Not with tears, but with a warmth that came from relief. Someone had finally shown her kindness. Someone had opened a door instead of closing it. Ariel grew tired again, her body still weak. Daniel guided her to the guest room, speaking only when needed so she wouldn't feel overwhelmed. She touched the blanket, amazed by its softness, and sat down slowly. Before she lay down, she looked at him with a gentle expression, a mix of gratitude and trust. Daniel turned off the lights and stepped out, letting her rest. As he closed the door behind him, he couldn't help but think about how strange life could be. One ordinary night had changed everything. Instead of peace and silence, his home now held a guest from beyond the stars, someone who whispered, "I'm hungry," as her first words on Earth. He didn't know what the next day would bring. But he knew this. He had opened his door to help someone in need, and that someone now depended on him. And in a quiet corner of his simple home, Ariel slept softly, safe for the first time in a long time. Morning sunlight slipped through the curtains and filled Daniel's small kitchen with a warm glow. He stood quietly near the stove, making breakfast, but his mind wandered back to the strange events of the night before. The woman, Ariel, was asleep in the guest room, and he still wasn't sure whether everything had really happened or if he had dreamed it. But when he heard the soft creak of the guest room door opening, he knew it was real. Ariel stepped into the hallway slowly, as if still unsure of the house, the world, and everything around her. Her steps were light, almost soundless. She looked more rested but still tired. Her movements careful, her eyes scanning every corner as if making sure everything was safe. Daniel offered a gentle smile. "Good morning." Ariel blinked, then tried repeating the words. "Good morning." Her voice was quiet but smoother than last night. She was learning fast. Daniel pointed toward the table where he had placed bread, fruit, and warm tea. "You can eat. Everything is safe." She approached the table slowly, her eyes full of curiosity. When she sat down, she touched the cup first, testing the warmth. Then she tasted the tea. Her expression softened with calmness, as if the warm drink comforted her. While she ate, Daniel observed how she looked around the room. Every small object seemed to catch her attention. The framed photos, the wooden shelves, the clock ticking on the wall. She studied them like someone discovering a new world piece by piece. After a few minutes, she looked up at him and spoke carefully. "This home?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, my home." Ariel pressed her hand against her chest gently. "Safe. Home." He could see how much the feeling of safety meant to her. Whatever she had gone through before arriving at his door must have been frightening or confusing, but she never spoke about it directly. She only dropped small hints: her lost group, her emergency landing, the sadness in her eyes when she mentioned far from here. Daniel didn't want to force her to talk. Instead, he kept the atmosphere calm and simple. After breakfast, Ariel walked toward the window. She stared outside at the trees swaying in the wind, the sky bright with clouds drifting lazily. She reached her hand toward the sunlight coming through the glass, watching how it glowed against her slightly blue-tinted skin. "It is warm," she said softly. "Yes," Daniel replied. "Sunlight feels good." She nodded slowly, still amazed. Daniel noticed something new. Ariel wasn't just lost. She was learning the world around her like someone who had only read about it before and was now experiencing it for the very first time. A few minutes later, she turned to him again and pointed to herself. "Ariel," she said, then pointed to him. "Dan-iel." "Right," he said with a smile. She repeated both names, practicing the sounds carefully. She seemed happy when Daniel nodded in approval. It was clear she wanted to communicate properly, to connect, to understand. To help her, Daniel took out a small notebook. He drew a simple picture of a cup and wrote "cup" under it. Then he pointed to the actual cup on the table. "Cup." Ariel's eyes brightened with interest. She repeated the word softly. "Cup." He drew a table. "Table. Table." He drew a window. "Window. Win-dow," she said slowly. She touched the notebook with her fingertips, almost in amazement. Learning seemed to comfort her, as if it made her feel less lost. Daniel continued teaching her simple words. She listened carefully, repeating each one until she got it right. Every time she said a word correctly, she gave a small smile, gentle, sincere, and full of gratitude. Hours passed quietly like that, with simple lessons and patient practice. Ariel's presence made the house feel different, not lonely anymore, but warm and full of unexpected peace. Later that afternoon, Daniel stepped outside to get fresh air. Ariel followed him cautiously. She walked onto the porch and looked around at the wide-open fields, the tall trees, the sky stretching endlessly. Her eyes looked brighter outside, reflecting the light in a soft, unique way. She looked up at the high sky for a long time, her expression thoughtful. Daniel could tell she was thinking about her home, wherever it was. "Ariel," he said gently, "are you looking for something? Someone?" She turned to him slowly. "Group," she said softly. "My group, gone." Her voice wasn't sad exactly, but there was a deep longing in it. A sense of loss not caused by danger, but by distance. Distance so great that even imagination struggled to reach it. Daniel nodded, giving her space to feel whatever she needed. She pointed upward again, toward the sky. Very far. Too far now. Daniel felt a small ache in his chest. Helping her was one thing, but how could he guide her back to a place not even on Earth? Still, she didn't seem hopeless. She simply accepted her situation, even if it confused her. She looked at Daniel, then at the house, then back at him again. After a moment, she pointed to the home and said softly, "Stay. Here?" Daniel smiled. "Yes. You can stay, as long as you need." Her shoulders relaxed immediately. She seemed relieved, like someone who had finally found a safe place to breathe. Over the next few days, Ariel settled into a gentle routine. She helped Daniel with simple chores. She folded laundry with careful attention, cleaned dishes slowly but precisely, and kept the house tidy. Watching her learn small tasks made Daniel smile. It was like teaching someone who truly appreciated everything she learned. She also started understanding more English. Whenever Daniel spoke, she listened closely, repeating words or asking questions with her soft voice. Her progress was quick, almost surprising. One afternoon, while Daniel read a book, Ariel sat across from him with the notebook, drawing small shapes and writing simple words under them. She seemed proud of each one she completed. When she finished, she brought the notebook to Daniel. Her handwriting was slightly uneven, but still readable. She pointed at the first word she wrote by herself, home. Daniel looked up at her and she gave a warm, shy smile. "That's right," he said softly. "Home." She placed a hand over her heart, repeating the word. Home. There was something in her tone, something sincere and full of meaning. It wasn't just a place to her, it was safety, comfort, trust. But even with this peace, Ariel still jumped slightly whenever she heard distant sounds, a car engine, a door closing somewhere far away, even the wind sometimes. Daniel noticed. She wasn't afraid of him, but she was still afraid of being found by someone else, someone she didn't want to meet. One evening, while they were eating dinner, Ariel paused suddenly, her eyes unfocused, her expression tense. Daniel looked at her with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She took a slow breath and nodded. "Yes, just remembering." He didn't ask more. If she wanted to share her memories, she would tell him when she was ready. After they finished eating, Ariel looked at him for a long moment. Then she pointed to him, then to herself, and said quietly, "Thank you, Daniel." Her words were simple, but the emotion behind them was deep. He nodded, feeling a warmth in his chest. "You don't need to thank me. You're safe here," he said. She smiled softly, and for the first time, that smile reached her eyes fully. Later that night, Daniel walked past the guest room and noticed the door slightly open. Ariel was sitting by the window looking at the stars. Her expression was calm, no longer filled with fear or loneliness. She looked like someone who had finally found a place to rest. Her lips moved softly, whispering a word she had recently learned, a word she now believed. Family. Days turned into a gentle rhythm inside Daniel's small home. Ariel was no longer the frightened, weak visitor who whispered, "I'm hungry," at his door. She was different now, still quiet, still careful, but warmer, more open, and learning new things every day. The house that once felt empty now carried soft footsteps, soft voices, and a calm energy Daniel had never experienced before. One morning, Daniel found Ariel already awake, sitting at the kitchen table and studying the notebook he had given her. She held a pencil carefully between her fingers, as if it were a delicate tool. Her eyes were focused on the page, and she whispered each word she wrote to practice the sound. Daniel smiled. "You're up early." She looked up and returned a gentle smile. "Good morning, Daniel." Her voice sounded clearer now, smoother. She was getting better at the language quickly. "What are you writing today?" he asked. Ariel turned the notebook toward him. She had drawn simple shapes, a tree, a cup, the sun, and written the words next to them. Her handwriting was slightly uneven but neat. She enjoyed small accomplishments like this, and it made Daniel happy to see her proud of herself. "You're learning fast," he said. She touched her chest lightly, a gesture she often used to show appreciation. "You teach." "Very well." Daniel prepared breakfast while Ariel watched curiously. She observed every step, how he cracked eggs, stirred them, and cooked them slowly. Everything seemed new to her, almost magical. To Ariel, even simple cooking was a skill worth understanding. "Can I try?" she asked softly. "Of course," Daniel replied. He guided her hands gently, showing her how to stir slowly. She followed each step with concentration and excitement. When the meal was ready, she looked at it like she had created something amazing. "Good?" she asked, offering him a plate. Daniel tasted it. "Very good." Her eyes brightened immediately. After breakfast, Ariel asked if she could help around the house. She liked feeling useful. She folded blankets with care, arranged books neatly on shelves, and watered the small plants by the window. Every task she performed with quiet dedication, as if each small action helped her understand Earth better. When Daniel stepped outside to check the mailbox, Ariel followed him. She had become comfortable walking beside him, keeping a safe distance, but always close enough to feel secure. The world outside fascinated her. She watched birds fly from tree to tree, listened to the sound of leaves moving in the wind, and tilted her head whenever she heard something she couldn't recognize. "What is that?" she asked, pointing toward a bird perched on a branch. "That's a bird. They sing," Daniel explained. Ariel listened quietly to the chirping sounds. "Beautiful," she said softly. She began walking around the yard, touching the grass gently, observing the patterns of small stones. Every small detail amazed her. Daniel realized she must have come from a place very different from Earth, maybe a place quieter or brighter, or filled with things he could never imagine. As she walked, she practiced new words: sky, tree, cloud, grass. Her pronunciation grew clearer each time. She repeated the words with a soft enthusiasm, and Daniel couldn't help but smile. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was sharing his world with someone who truly appreciated every piece of it. Later in the afternoon, Daniel took out a box of old items, things he hadn't used for years. Ariel sat beside him on the floor as he opened it. Inside were pictures, souvenirs, and small objects from different times in Daniel's life. She picked up a photo of Daniel with his family, studying it with interest. "Your people?" she asked. "Yes, my parents," he answered. "They lived far from here." Ariel touched the edge of the photo gently. "You miss them?" Daniel took a slow breath. "Yes, I do." She didn't say anything at first, but her eyes softened with understanding. Even though she was from far beyond Earth, she knew what it meant to miss someone. She pointed at the smiling faces in the photo. "They look kind." "They were," Daniel replied with a warm smile. Ariel placed the photo back carefully, as if she respected its importance. She looked around at the other items: old books, small toys, dried leaves pressed between pages. Every object seemed like a window into Daniel's past, and she treated each one with gentle attention. As days continued passing, Ariel's trust in Daniel grew stronger. She no longer hesitated when she walked through the house. She smiled more freely. She laughed softly when something surprised her, like a butterfly landing on her hand or a radio song with a cheerful rhythm. One evening, Daniel played a slow song on the radio. Ariel sat across from him, listening closely. The melody seemed new to her, soft, peaceful, flowing like water. "This is music?" she asked. "Yes," Daniel replied. "It's called a song." Ariel closed her eyes and let the sound wash over her. Her expression softened beautifully. "It feels like comfort." Daniel nodded. "Music can do that." She opened her eyes and looked at him with a thoughtful expression. "In my home, we also have sound, but different. Not like this." "Is it pretty?" Daniel asked softly. Ariel smiled lightly. "Yes, very pretty. But this music feels like calm." She didn't talk much about her home, but whenever she did, There was always a mix of longing and peace in her voice. She seemed to treasure the memories, but also accepted that she was far away now. In the days that followed, she began telling Daniel small pieces of her story. Not everything, but enough to help him understand her life a little more. She explained how her people traveled peacefully, exploring places, learning from different worlds. She shared how she got separated from her group during an emergency landing. The details were simple, never frightening, but enough to explain why she arrived alone. Daniel listened patiently, never pushing her to share more than she wanted. Ariel appreciated that. She was sensitive to pressure, and Daniel's gentle nature made her feel at ease. She knew she could trust him. One late afternoon, Daniel found Ariel sitting outside on the porch steps, watching the sun slowly lower behind the trees. The sky turned soft shades of orange and pink. Ariel watched it with wonder. "Does the sky change colors every day?" she asked. "Every evening," Daniel answered. "It's called a sunset." "Sun-set," she repeated softly. "It is beautiful." They sat together in silence, watching nature's slow painting. Ariel gently leaned her shoulder slightly toward Daniel, not touching, but close enough to show she felt safe near him. After the colors faded, Ariel spoke in a quiet voice, almost like a whisper. "Daniel, I was afraid when I came here. Afraid of everything. Afraid of being alone." Daniel nodded gently, listening. "But now," she continued, "I do not feel afraid. Because you help me. Because you are kind." Her words carried warmth that touched his heart. She looked down at her hands, then at him again with a small, grateful smile. "You make me feel like I belong." Daniel's voice was soft. "You do belong." Ariel took a slow breath, letting the truth settle inside her. She wasn't just a lost traveler anymore. She was someone discovering a new life, step by step. That night, before going to sleep, she whispered a simple word that she had practiced for days, but never used until then, because she finally felt ready to say it. Family. Daniel heard it and knew something had changed gently, quietly, and beautifully. Ariel didn't just trust him, she valued him. And their small home, once silent and lonely, now held a bond stronger than either of them expected. The weeks that followed moved gently, like soft waves passing under a calm boat. Ariel slowly became part of Daniel's everyday life, and he became part of hers. They learned each other's habits, their small routines fitting together naturally without effort. Daniel never imagined his quiet home would one day feel warm with company, but now it did, and he found himself looking forward to each new morning. Ariel continued learning English with surprising speed. She practiced every day, repeating words aloud, asking Daniel questions, and writing small sentences in her notebook. Some words made her smile, some made her laugh softly, and some made her tilt her head in confusion before understanding them. One morning, as Daniel prepared breakfast, Ariel walked into the kitchen holding the notebook. She pointed to a sentence she wrote herself. "I feel safe here." Daniel looked at her, impressed. "That's perfect," he said. Ariel's face lit up with quiet happiness. She placed her hand over her heart gently, a gesture that had become her way of expressing strong feelings. "I mean it," she said softly. They shared breakfast at the small wooden table. Ariel had learned how to prepare simple meals now. She liked slicing fruit, arranging it neatly on plates, and watching Daniel smile whenever she offered her help. She enjoyed being useful. It made her feel less like a visitor and more like someone who belonged. After finishing their meal, Ariel followed Daniel outside to help him with a few outdoor chores. The air was cool and fresh. Sunlight filtered through tree branches, making small patterns on the ground. Ariel, as always, looked around with childlike wonder, appreciating every detail of nature. She carried a small watering can and helped water the plants near the porch. She treated each plant with care, gently touching the leaves as if greeting them. Daniel observed her silently, admiring how she found beauty in things most people ignored. "These plants, they feel alive to me," she said suddenly. "They are alive," Daniel replied. She nodded thoughtfully. "They feel peaceful." Daniel smiled. "That's why I like living here. Everything is peaceful." Ariel looked at him, her expression soft. "You are peaceful too." Her words were simple, but they carried kindness that warmed Daniel's heart. Later in the day, Daniel took Ariel to a nearby hill behind the house. The walk was short, and Ariel enjoyed every step. The hill offered a wide view of the town far below. Houses looked like tiny dots, and the trees formed a soft green carpet across the land. The wind gently pushed through the grass, creating a soothing sound. Ariel stood there quietly, taking it all in. She closed her eyes for a moment and let the breeze wash over her face. "Beautiful," she whispered. Daniel sat on a flat rock and Ariel joined him. For a moment, neither spoke. Silence felt natural between them, comfortable, not heavy. After a long pause, Ariel said softly, "I used to see lands like this, from very far away, but never this close." Daniel turned to her. "You traveled a lot?" She nodded slowly. "With my group. We learned about places, observed them. We never stayed long anywhere, always moving." She glanced down at the grass and touched it with her fingers. "But this is different." "How?" Daniel asked gently. She searched for the right words. "This place feels like a home you can choose, a home you can feel." Daniel understood what she meant. Her home was far away, too far to return. But this place gave her something she needed, a safe space, calm air, and a person who cared. Ariel looked at Daniel again, her voice soft. "If I had found this place before, maybe I would have stayed." Daniel felt something warm and quiet rise in his chest. He didn't answer right away, but his smile told her he understood. When they returned home, the sky was beginning to glow with evening colors. Ariel stepped inside and immediately reached for the radio, turning it on carefully. She loved listening to soft music at the end of the day. It helped her relax and think. Daniel sat in the living room reading while Ariel settled at the table with her notebook. As she wrote, she hummed along with the music, something she had picked up recently. Her humming was gentle and peaceful, like the sound of a calm river. After some time, Ariel closed her notebook and walked to the window. She looked out quietly, her expression thoughtful. Daniel noticed the change and got up to join her. "Everything all right?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes, just thinking." He waited patiently. Ariel continued to watch the sky before speaking. "I think about my group, where they are now. I wonder if they are safe. I wonder if they look at the stars like I do." Daniel placed a comforting hand near her without touching her. "I'm sure they're okay, and if they're like you, they must be brave." Ariel gave a small, grateful smile. "Maybe, but I'm not sure anymore." Daniel tilted his head slightly. "What do you mean?" Ariel turned to him fully, her voice quiet but honest. "I am not sure where I belong now. My group is far away, but I feel something here, something new, something I didn't expect." Daniel's heart slowed as he listened. "I feel connected," Ariel continued softly, "to this place, to this calm, to you." The room felt warmer suddenly, as if her words filled it with a soft glow. Daniel spoke gently. "Ariel, you don't have to choose anything right now. You can stay here as long as you want. You have time. And you're not alone." Ariel looked at him with deep appreciation. She placed her hand over her heart again, a gesture he now recognized as something precious. "Thank you. You don't know how much that means to me." He smiled. "I think I do." Ariel looked outside again, the sky now filled with soft orange light. "The sunset. It reminds me of hope." Daniel nodded. "It does." That evening, they sat together at the small table and ate dinner quietly. No words were needed. Their silence wasn't empty. It was full of trust and understanding. After dinner, Ariel walked to her room. Daniel assumed she was going to sleep, but she returned a moment later, holding a folded piece of paper. She handed it to him with a shy smile. He unfolded it carefully. It was a simple drawing, Ariel and Daniel standing beside the small house, with the sky full of stars above them. Ariel had drawn it with the same gentle care she used for everything. Below the drawing, she had written one short sentence. "You are my family." Daniel felt something shift softly inside him. Not heavy, not overwhelming, just warm, gentle, and real. He looked at Ariel, and she looked back with quiet sincerity. Her eyes carried no fear now, only trust. "Your family to me, too," Daniel said softly. For the rest of the night, they both felt something new, something deeper than gratitude or safety. A bond. A promise. A beginning.